The Fed raises their Fed funds, their overnight rate, 0.5%. What does that mean? 50 basis points. What does that mean for you? Well, it's counterintuitive because it doesn't mean that inflation is going away. What it really truly means is that inflation is going to be here for a while. JP Morgan Chase just talked about 10 years of inflation and what's going to happen. And again, you have the deflation, inflation crowds fighting each other. At the end of the day, though, when you have the massive guy saying there's going to be inflation, it's been an inflationary decade, you can see the 40s, the 70s, as even Weimar Germany, seeing these massive swings from going from like deflation to inflation and deflation, like even crazy inflation. This is what we're going to see going forward. And a lot of it is because of the monetary phenomenon. Milton Friedman said, right? Inflation is a monetary phenomenon anywhere and everywhere, always and everywhere, right? But it's part of this is as well a supply chain issue, right? And the problem is that what is going to be exacerbated by is the breaking of supply chains. So this is what it means for you. It means get prepared. It means everything we tell you and we all talk about every single day: get prepared, get resilient, get independent, remove yourself from the system, opt out. Bitcoin, gold, silver, energy, food, water, land, security, arms, everything, you name it. Even if you have a little bit, do what you can do and then tell the people around you. Help the other people around you get prepared. Even if you can't do everything you can help other people get prepared. Maybe they have some more means. Get prepared because that's what's coming. At the end of the day, as Greg Mannarino says, this is not going to slow inflation, raising the rates. If they really truly care, like we've been saying, they don't care about us, right? The unproductive class, the globalists, they don't care. They're just lip service job owning. Raising rates isn't going to do anything. If you wanted to raise the reserve limit at the banks, that would start sucking money up into the banks and out of the system. That would do it. And they know that. This is why they don't care. It's just talk, right? So inflation's still up, 7%. People are like, oh, it's going down. No, it's not. It's just, it's going up a little bit slower. This is going to continue happening. Again, you can watch Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, and you can see the violent swings in Germany 100 years ago that were going from, like we said, inflation to deflation to hyperinflation almost, then back down and then back way up again. This is what the percent of change graph, by the way, if you've ever seen that, we should look that up. Look that up. This is what is actually going to be happening going forward. These crazy change swings, and what will happen, and this can be really, really severely impacted, is the supply chains. And this is where people just aren't talking about this enough. And this is why we talk about getting prepared, getting resilient, and being independent, and not being off grid. You don't need to be off grid, right? Because these are still, somewhat tail risks. These aren't necessarily, this isn't guaranteed to happen, like we're going to break our supply chains. It could happen. It's a lot bigger of a problem than it was. And deglobalization, right? Today, Dr. Jeff Ross, Greg Foss, Lawrence Lepard, James Lavish, Preston Pish, all on Cafe Bitcoin talking about this very thing. And really the precarious place the Fed is in, the governments are in, and what's truly happening, and the ramifications of the supply chains breaking. That is one of the big catalysts. And you have deglobalization, where people are coming back in, onshoring things. You have things going more local, and this just-in-time economy we had is faltering, and we haven't even seen the ramifications of that yet, right? So this is why the yield curve just went inverted, pretty much the whole thing. So now, as Dr. Jeff says, the arbit that was there, the banks that had that spread where they would lend out at small rates and then lend at higher rates on the long end of the curve, and they'd make that spread from the short end of the curve to the long end of the curve, now it's gone. It's all inverted, right? So this can't last forever. And the U.S. can't service the debt. They can't service the 4 or 5% on $31 trillion. So we know, and the bond market is calling it out. Because it's inverted, it's telling us, hey, in the next 6-12 months, they're going to have to start cutting rates and printing currency, quantitative easing, and buying bonds, and maybe buying stocks. And that is going to be inflationary. That is inflationary. So we're going to be living with this, coming back full circle to what JP Morgan says. We're going to be living in an inflationary decade until they financially repress us out of this. So be prepared for inflation. Be prepared for inflation. We know, again, we've talked about this a lot. Ben Bernanke saying deflation, why it can't happen here. So they're going to inflate there, 2002. Then 2012, the IMF playbook of how to get out of debts for government. Financially repress the people, right? Financial repression, debase the currency, print, buy bonds, print by buying bonds or buying stocks, whatever it is, getting currency into the system. And this is the plan. So again, we have all these crazy dynamics going on. Home sales, existing home sales, slowing down, an 11-year low. in 2023. This is what NAR, National Association of Realtors, is predicting. Mortgage rates are falling. So again, you have houses not selling as much. Mortgage rates are falling because you have this thing has obviously been going up and up and up. We have the rates been going up. Now it's slipping back down. So people are like, oh, that was great. But again, this is going to reverse. So things are already changing a little bit with the 30-year mortgage. That's going to change over time. In the next year, year and a half, 2 years, it's going to come back down again. It has to, because the system is built on debt and credit. It has to do that. You cannot service. No one can service. Government on down. People cannot service their debts because people are in too much debt. And here we are. Kathy Wood from ARK, seeing U.S. now in recession, expects energy stocks to tumble and more catastrophe moving forward. U.S. equity funds register biggest weekly outflow in about 1.5 years. We see global equity funds, both according to Reuters here, record biggest weekly outflows in 3 months. So people extracting wealth from the system because they're preparing. They see what's going on too. People everywhere sense what's going on. They sense the craziness. So what does that mean when stuff is locking up, the system's locking up, and you have liquidity crunch too? That means the Fed's going to have to start getting in again. Another reason they're going to have to get in and start really spinning their wheels, spinning up the currency printer, buying bonds and lowering rates. This is going to happen. And again, it's happening in the crypto side. Investors withdraw record levels of coins from crypto exchange. And this is beautiful. This is the answer to all this too. Take your Bitcoin, not crypto, take your Bitcoin, put it in self-custody. That way you're opting out of the system and you have custody over your wealth, over your property, and you are out of the system. You can, if you're in Bitcoin, you're in self-custody, you have your own custody of your Bitcoin. You can just sit on the sidelines and watch the Titanic sink, and you're on the Bitcoin life raft. This is the answer at the end of the day. And again, the answer, small banks warn they might have to drop Zelle over scam payment costs. Again, Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin with a Lightning Network, layer 2. I mean, the crazy part is in this legacy system, people just don't know yet, right? And I didn't know 5-6 years ago. I didn't know what was going on. A lot of things weren't even built yet, right? We didn't have Lightning 6 years ago. Now we have this. You're not subject to this anymore. You can use Moon Wallet to just transact and little to no remittance fees, instantaneously, final settlement across the world. You don't need Zelle. You don't need PayPal. These companies are spying on you. You don't need any of this. It's gone. We have the answers. This is the beautiful part. So all this craziness up here that we talked about before, we have all these answers now. We have the answer to all this that fixes this. All the fraud, defrauding U.S. banks. $2 billion penalty. $2 billion penalty. That's insanity. I mean, this gets fixed by putting ourselves back on a deflationary sound money. This is gone. It dries up all this garbage. It dries up everything. And this, like I said, is the biggest problem. In wrapping at the end of the day, as many of the guys talked about, major oil pipeline outage to hit U.S. stockpiles, refining supply. This is huge. This is, at the end of the day, energy is everything. Energy is everywhere. It's not all usable, though, and that's the problem. So if we can't land this plane, at least a rough landing, even if it's not a soft landing, if Jay Powell and a bunch of the people sitting at that round table, the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee can't land this plane, then look out. You could have massive supply chain disruptions. That means food may be missing from the shelves, water, critical supplies. This is why we need to get prepared. Non-perishables, start stocking up on things, especially this winter. You're going to see what's happening in Europe. This is incredibly important. This is why this video is so important. So please like and subscribe. I appreciate your time. It's the 11th hour. It is insurance buying time. And hopefully you've been buying insurance this whole time, but please get prepared. The more we are prepared, the more resilient and independent we are, the less all this affects us. And then we can go help other people in the process. So appreciate your time, your energy. It's the most important asset we have. It's the only finite asset we know of besides Bitcoin. Bitcoin and time and Bitcoin. But I appreciate you spending it with us. Like and subscribe if you got something out of it. Please let me know what you got out of it, what your thoughts are on all this, and what you're doing to prepare. If you don't like it, please let us know. Dislike, put us some comments in here so we can improve going forward, give you more value, more entertainment, and we can battle it out in the comments. And please, again, share it with people that might understand this, might get it, or maybe they don't understand it at all and you're worried about them. Please share it with them as well. We want to help as many people off the sinking fiat legacy Titanic into the life raft of freedom, independence, liberty, resilience. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.